My friend, there is a law working in your life, whether you know its name or not. It does not care what you believe about it. It does not pause to explain itself. It simply takes whatever you hand it at the end of the day and turns it into your tomorrow. I call it the law of the final hour. The law is simple. The last thought you allow to pass unchallenged through your mind before sleep quietly becomes the master of your next day. The world has taught you to worship the morning. Rise early, they say. Win the day, they say. And yes, there is power in that. But listen to me now. Success is not born at sunrise. It is conceived the night before, when the world grows quiet and you issue your last command to your own mind. Think for a moment about how most people end their day. They fall into bed exhausted, not just in body but in thought. They lie in the dark, reliving arguments, replaying mistakes, counting what they lack. They dwell on unpaid bills, unfinished tasks, uncertain futures. Their final hour is not a throne room of command, it is a courtroom of self-accusation. They rehearse fear until it feels familiar. They practice worry until it feels responsible. They repeat stories of limitation until those stories become identity. Then they wake and call it just how life is, without ever realizing they themselves signed the order the night before. You may have done the same. You may have turned off the light and allowed your mind to wander wherever it chose, believing that sleep is a place where nothing important happens. But your nights have never been neutral. While your body rests, your mind does not. The conscious guard grows weak, but the inner worker stays awake. The question is not, is it working? The question is, what orders have you given it before you hand over control? If your final thoughts are filled with confusion, your mind works all night to organize more confusion. If your last words are defeat, your mind searches silently for ways to bring more of it into your experience. If you lie there telling yourself that money is scarce, that opportunity is gone, that you are too late, your mind accepts this as its mission and spends the night building walls where doors could have been. The law of the final hour is mercilessly fair. It does not care whether you are rich or poor, educated or uneducated, hopeful or hopeless. It simply amplifies whatever you repeat with feeling when the conscious mind begins to fall asleep. This is why two people can live in the same city, face the same economy, work the same hours, and yet walk in two different worlds. One ends his day in drift, the other ends his day in command. One surrenders his last thoughts to fear. The other dedicates his last thoughts to a definite future. They go to bed in the same world, but they do not wake up in the same world, because the world you wake into is filtered through the law that governed your final hour. I want you to see this clearly. If a man sits at the end of his bed each night counting every way he has failed, every injustice, every insult, every fear, he is not just remembering his day, he is programming his tomorrow. He is handing his subconscious a script and saying, "This is who I am, this is what I expect, build me more of this." And the subconscious, obedient and tireless, goes to work without argument. It is like a builder waiting for blueprints. It does not judge the design. It does not ask, "Are you sure you want such a small house?" It simply builds the structure you have drawn with your repeated thoughts and emotions. Now imagine another man. He has faced the same fatigue, the same uncertainty, the same noise of the day. But when night comes, he does not surrender that final hour to chance. He steps into it like a king enters a council chamber. He does not rehearse the worst moments of the day. He recalls the progress he made, the strength he showed, the vision he holds. He speaks to himself not as a victim, but as a leader. He chooses a clear, commanding thought and lets that be the last impression his mind receives before he sleeps. One man hands his builder a blueprint of worry. The other hands his builder a blueprint of intention. One man thinks the day is the only place where work is done. The other knows that night is when the deepest work begins. This is the difference the law of the final hour makes. You can feel its truth in your own life. Think back to nights when you went to bed angry. Did you not wake up heavy? The situation may not have changed at all, but your whole being felt more burdened because your last thought the night before was soaked in anger. That emotion carried into the morning like a fog over your spirit. Now remember a night when you went to bed with gratitude or with a clear decision burning in your mind. Even if nothing outside changed yet, Did you not wake a little taller, a little clearer, a little stronger? Your body did not manufacture that feeling in the morning. It was prepared for you during the night, as your mind obeyed the last message you gave it. Most people call this a mood. They call it a feeling. They call it a good or bad day. But underneath all of those words is a simple mechanism. The last command of the day quietly becomes the first condition of the next one. The final hour teaches the morning how to behave. The reason this law has so much power is because of what happens to your guard at night. During the day, your conscious mind is busy arguing, doubting, analyzing, rejecting. You tell yourself a new idea, and immediately an older voice rises up to say, "That will never work." Your conscious mind acts like a security guard at the gate, examining everything that tries to enter. But as you grow tired, that guard sits down. He does not disappear, but he relaxes his grip. His arms lower. His attention drifts. This is when the subconscious comes nearer to the surface. It begins to listen more directly to whatever is spoken with feeling and repetition. Think of a child falling asleep to a story. In that soft state, the child does not argue with the story. He simply accepts it, pictures it, feels it. Then his dreams begin to dance with the images he was given. Your subconscious is that child, and you are the storyteller. The law of the final hour says this: your subconscious will accept as law whatever story you choose to tell it in that final chapter of the day. If you tell it the story of a man trapped, it builds more traps. If you tell it the story of a man rising, it builds more steps. And because it works all night, by the time you open your eyes, you feel like the character you described to yourself. That is why it can be so hard to break out of cycles. You may decide in the afternoon to change your life, to start a business, to save money, to think differently. You feel powerful for a moment. Then night comes. You lie down, and instead of reinforcing that decision, you rehearse every reason it might fail. You hand the law of the final hour a new command. Forget what we said earlier today. Let us go back to being afraid. Let us go back to believing that nothing really changes. Your subconscious obeys the last order, not the loudest one. So when you wake, you no longer feel the power of your afternoon decision. You feel the weight of your late night worry. You tell yourself, maybe I was just motivated for a moment. No, you were sincere, but you handed the final hour the authority to overrule everything you decided before. Once you understand this, you stop thinking of your nights as empty space. You start seeing them as the most critical meeting of your day. The final hour is your boardroom. It is your war room. It is the place where you decide what your inner forces will fight for tomorrow. If you do not show up to that meeting with a clear agenda, old habits will run it for you. The law of the final hour does something else that most people never notice. It does not just shape how you feel. It shapes what you notice and what you choose without thinking. If you go to bed with scarcity in your mind, your subconscious spends the night gathering proof of scarcity. When you wake, you begin to notice every article that confirms the economy is bad, every conversation that hints at lack, every memory that supports the belief that money is hard to earn. You think you are seeing reality, but you are seeing a filtered reality created by what you fed your mind before you slept. If you go to bed with a clear belief that you are becoming a man of value, a man of wealth, a man of purpose, your subconscious spends the night gathering proof of that. When you wake, you notice opportunities that match that belief. You remember ideas that match that belief. You feel bolder in conversations that match that belief. Again, you think you are seeing reality, but you are seeing a reality that has been organized around the sentence you repeated before sleep. In this way, the final hour does more than influence your mood. It quietly writes the script of how you interpret everything you meet the next day. Two people can walk past the same open door. One sees a threat, the other sees a calling. The difference is not in the door. The difference is in what they told their mind to look for during the night. The law of the final hour is why drift is so dangerous. Drift is not simply laziness. Drift is the habit of letting your last thoughts of the day be chosen by whatever happens to shout the loudest. A random video, a negative headline, an old memory, a quiet fear you never challenge. All of these become uninvited guests at the most important meeting of your day. You think you are just scrolling, just relaxing, just passing time. But you are not. You are handing your mind suggestions at its most open moment. You are giving away the steering wheel and hoping the car still arrives at the right destination. Drift is the opposite of command. Command says, I will decide what my last thought will be. Drift says, whatever appears in front of me in these final minutes is what I will accept. The law of the final hour does not argue. It simply obeys whichever one you choose. I want you to picture a farmer at the end of his day. He stands at the edge of his field holding a bag of seed. The soil is open. It is ready. The earth is waiting to receive whatever he scatters. Now imagine that farmer saying, I am tired. I am distracted. I will just throw anything, anywhere. It does not matter. Tomorrow will be whatever it will be. We would call that foolish. Yet many men do the same with their mind. Night after night, they scatter seeds of worry, resentment, self-pity, confusion into the most fertile soil of their subconscious, and then ask why the harvest of their life is so bitter. The wise farmer knows better. He chooses his seed with care. He knows that the ground does not decide what grows. The seed does. The law of the final hour is that field. It will grow what you plant. It is your responsibility to stop scattering weeds. This law becomes even more serious when you recognize that your final thoughts do not affect you alone. They affect your family. A man may never tell his children, I am afraid. I feel lost. I do not believe I can provide the life I want for you. But if those are the thoughts he sleeps with, the atmosphere of his home will feel it. His children may not know the details, but they will feel the tension in his tone, the heaviness in his presence, the lack of joy in his decisions. The law of the final hour does not just shape a man, it shapes a household. The man who falls asleep in fear wakes with less patience, less clarity, less courage. The man who falls asleep in command wakes with more direction, more peace, more authority. He becomes an anchor to those around him instead of another storm. This is why you cannot treat this law as something optional or mystical. It is practical. It is daily. Your finances, your leadership, your relationships, your health, your decisions are all touched by what you repeatedly hand to your subconscious in that final hour. You may say, but I am tired at night. My mind races. My worries are loud. How can I possibly control that? The answer is not to fight your thoughts for hours. The answer is to choose one thought, one sentence, one clear command, and give it the highest place in that hour. The mind cannot fully concentrate on two masters at once. If you give it a definite, emotionally charged instruction, and you return to that instruction again and again as you drift towards sleep, you begin to quietly replace 1,000 anxious suggestions with one deliberate command. That is what the rest of this message will teach you to do. But before we build the method, you must first deeply feel the weight of the law, because until you respect the power of the final hour, you will treat this sentence lightly. You will repeat it one night and skip it the next. You will try it when you feel good and ignore it when you feel tired. That is not how law works. The law of gravity does not stop working because you are exhausted. The law of the final hour does not stop shaping your life because you are distracted. If you do not give your mind a deliberate command, it will obey the command of your strongest emotion. If that emotion is fear, it will serve fear. If that emotion is faith, it will serve faith. The law is not sentimental. It is exact. So ask yourself honestly, what have you been telling your mind in the last 10 minutes before sleep? Have you been telling it that you are behind, that you are too late, that you are overwhelmed? Have you been telling it that your dreams are foolish, that others always win, that life is unfair? Have you been telling it that you are stuck in the same story year after year? If so, then you now understand why the next day so often feels like a repeat of the last. You have been giving the law of the final hour one assignment and expecting a different result. You have been programming defeat and praying for victory. You cannot do both. At some point, You must decide which master you will serve. This is the truth at the core of all transformation. Your life does not change simply because you add more activity, more information, more effort. Your life changes when the law that governs your inner world receives a new command, and that command is repeated until it becomes stronger than the old one. The final hour is where that command is given. It is the doorway between who you were today and who you will be tomorrow. Stand carelessly at that doorway, and you will walk through as the same man. Stand there with intention, and you will pass through as a man in the process of becoming someone new. In the coming parts of this message, we will talk about how the subconscious works at night, how to design your sentence, how to build your ritual, how to change your identity through repetition. But all of that rests on this foundation. The law of the final hour is real. It is working in you now. You are not waiting for it to start. You are only deciding whether you will use it on purpose or continue to suffer its effects by accident. Tonight, when the noise of the day softens and you turn off the lights, I want you to remember this. You are not merely lying down to rest. You are stepping into the most powerful moment of suggestion you will have all day. You are entering the command room of your own destiny. The last thought you allow to live in your mind is not a harmless visitor. It is a builder, a messenger, a seed. It will go to work whether you send it consciously or whether it slips in by habit. The law of the final hour will open the gate and accept it either way. So you must decide. Will you let old fear keep issuing orders, or will you begin to speak as a man who understands his authority? Will you drift into sleep as a beggar, or will you enter it as a builder? Will you whisper defeat into your own soul, or will you declare a new identity and let the night go to work on your behalf? The law cannot be turned off, but it can be turned in your favor. And that shift begins the moment you say, no more careless nights, no more wandering thoughts at the gate. From this night forward, the final hour belongs to my intention. My last thought will be chosen, not inherited. My last word will be command, not complaint. My final impression will not be fear. It will be a clear, definite, powerful sentence that tells my mind who I am becoming and what I expect it to build. When you make that decision, the final hour ceases to be a place of drift and becomes a place of creation. Your nights cease to be empty and become the workshop of your new life. And for the first time, you will understand what it means to go to bed not as a man running from his day, but as a man forwarding his destiny into the quiet where the deepest work is done. My friend, now that you understand the law of the final hour, we must go deeper into the engine that this law operates upon. If the last thought before sleep is the command, then the subconscious mind is the silent builder that receives that command and works through the night to make it real. This is not poetry. This is the actual process by which your future is being constructed while the rest of the world believes nothing important is happening. You may think that when you lie down, close your eyes, and drift into sleep, your mind shuts off like a machine powered down at the end of the day. The truth is the opposite. The conscious mind rests. The part of you that analyzes, argues, doubts, worries, plans, and tries to control everything finally grows quiet. But beneath it, the deeper mind, the subconscious, stays fully awake. It does not have office hours. It does not clock out. It works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you know how to direct it or not. During the day, your conscious mind stands at the gate like a guard, questioning every new idea. It asks if something is realistic, if it fits your past, if it is safe, if it agrees with what others think. It analyzes, criticizes, compares, and often rejects what could help you. The subconscious mind does none of this. It does not argue. It does not reason in the same way. It simply accepts whatever gets past the guard, often through repetition and emotion, and then begins to build your life around it. When you are awake, both minds are active, but the conscious one is loud. It is like a man shouting instructions in a crowded workshop. At night, that shouting quiets. The workers remain, the tools remain, the blueprints remain, but the noise stops. That is when the real, quiet, uninterrupted work begins. This is how the subconscious works at night. It takes whatever materials you handed it in the final hour and begins sorting, organizing, reinforcing, and connecting them to everything you have ever believed, felt, or done. Imagine your day as a stream of experiences, thoughts, words, and images. All day long, you are collecting raw material. Some of it is useful, some of it is trash. Most people never sort what they have collected. They go through the day, stuffing worries, conversations, conflicts, hopes, and fears into the mind without order. Then, in the final hour, instead of deciding what they will keep and what they will throw away, they simply fall into bed and allow whatever is on top of the pile to sink deepest. The subconscious then takes that top layer as the most important. It says, if this is what you were thinking about as you fell asleep, this must be what you value. This must be the blueprint you want me to build from. And so it begins its work. It reviews your experiences in the light of that last dominant thought. If your last thought was lack, it goes back through your memories looking for more proof of lack. If your last thought was power and purpose, it goes back through your memories looking for proof that you are powerful and purposeful. It strengthens the neural paths that match your final message. It weakens those that contradict it. It is not concerned with what is true in some absolute sense. It is only concerned with what is repeatedly presented as truth with feeling. Think of the subconscious as your inner construction crew. During the day, that crew receives thousands of conflicting orders from the conscious foreman who is yelling at everything. Start this. Stop that. We should try this. No, we are afraid. Maybe later. Not now. This is too big. This is too hard. That crew hears chaos. But at night, when the foreman sleeps, one order remains pinned to the wall. One idea stands out as the final decision of the day. That order is the last thought you repeated or felt most deeply before sleep. The crew then spends the night following that one order, rearranging your beliefs, memories, and emotions to match it. This is why your final thought is so powerful and why understanding the subconscious at night is so critical. Consider a simple example. A man spends his day at work feeling restless and unfulfilled. In the afternoon, he has a moment of clarity. He thinks, I am capable of more. I will build a business. I will create new income. For a moment, his conscious mind shines with conviction. He feels strong, but he does not reinforce that thought in the final hour. Instead, at night, he scrolls through social media until his mind is filled with comparison and envy. He lies in bed thinking about how far behind he is, how much others have, how much he lacks. He falls asleep in frustration. The subconscious receives his last dominant state. Not the bright moment of clarity from the afternoon, but the heavy feeling of lack from the night. While he sleeps, his mind does not plan his business. It plans more of the same story. It searches through his past for every memory that proves he is behind, every moment where he hesitated, every failure he did not overcome. It links them together. It reinforces the identity of a man who never catches up. When he wakes, he remembers the afternoon idea only faintly. It feels distant, unrealistic. The feeling that dominates him is the atmosphere the subconscious prepared for him overnight. And that atmosphere says, stay small, stay stuck, stay the same. Now take another man. He faces similar circumstances, similar fatigue, similar frustration. In the afternoon, he also senses something more is possible. But when the night comes, he does not casually surrender that thought. He protects it. He sits in stillness and writes a clear sentence that expresses who he is becoming. Perhaps he says, I am building a business that earns me $10,000 per month by providing real value, and my mind works while I sleep to show me the way. He repeats it. He feels it. He goes to bed with that thought burning in his mind, not as a wish, but as a command. The subconscious receives this as the final order. During the night, it begins to search his memory not for proof that he is behind, but for proof that he is capable of this. It reminds him of past successes. It recalls skills he has. It brings to the surface conversations, ideas, and opportunities he ignored. It starts to connect scattered experiences into a coherent path. It might nudge him with a dream or bring a forgotten idea into his awareness in the morning. He wakes with a different mood, a different pattern of thought, a different instinct. The world outside has not changed. His income has not yet multiplied, but the inner builder has been working. He feels more certain. He feels drawn to take a small step that matches his sentence, and as he acts, the process deepens. This is the work of the subconscious at night. It takes your last instruction and searches your entire inner world for material to support it. It then pre-selects what you will notice and how you will feel tomorrow so that your actions align with that instruction. Some call this intuition, others call it coincidence, others call it luck. In truth, it is your own mind, silently obeying the orders you issued before you slept. Your subconscious operates by association. It links ideas, memories, and emotions that share a similar feeling. If you go to sleep steeped in worry about money, it goes into your past and pulls up every failure, every embarrassment, every moment of lack and ties them closer together. It strengthens the emotional pathway called scarcity. Then tomorrow, whenever money is mentioned, your nervous system travels that strengthened path automatically. You feel fear faster. You hesitate sooner. You say no to opportunities earlier. Not because you are cursed, but because your inner builder remodeled that hallway overnight. If you go to sleep steeped in a feeling of authority over your financial life, repeating a clear sentence that affirms your growing wealth and your ability to create value, your subconscious goes into your past and pulls up every moment when you showed resourcefulness, every time you learned something new, every risk you took that worked, every instance where someone trusted you. It strengthens the emotional pathway called capability. The next day, when money is mentioned, your nervous system travels that path instead. You feel less fear and more curiosity. You begin to ask different questions. You notice information and relationships that support your new identity. The external world has not yet changed, but your experience of it has completely changed because the night builder rewired your associations. You must understand that the subconscious does not recognize jokes, sarcasm, or casual negativity at this hour. It does not say, "He did not really mean it when he said he is a failure. He was just tired." It hears the words and feels the emotion, and takes them as literal instruction. Your conscious mind can play with words. Your subconscious cannot. It honors whatever is repeated with feeling, and especially whatever is repeated in the drowsy state between waking and sleep. This is why careless statements like, "I always mess things up," or "I can never get ahead," are so dangerous when spoken at night. In that softened state, they are planted not as passing thoughts, but as seeds. The subconscious hears always, and never as absolute commands, and begins to act accordingly. At night, when you are drifting, the door between the conscious and subconscious is open wider. Some of you have felt this when an idea suddenly arrives as you are falling asleep, or when you wake with a solution that seemed impossible earlier. You say, "I slept on it and the answer came." What happened? The builder was at work. While you let go of the problem consciously, your subconscious was free to search through your entire storehouse of knowledge and experience without the interference of worry. It tried different combinations. It examined possibilities you would have dismissed when you were tense. Then it presented a solution to you as a feeling, an image, a thought, at a time when you were more relaxed. This is the same process that will work for you in wealth, in purpose, in identity, if you give it a clear task. But if instead of giving it a noble task, you give it confusion, it will spend the entire night weaving that confusion into your nerve system and your belief. The subconscious does not only work with your personal memories, it reaches beyond them. It connects to patterns, ideas, and possibilities that, from the outside, look like pure intuition or inspiration. You have experienced this when you felt a sudden inner nudge to call someone, to go somewhere, to start something, and that action opened a door you could not have logically planned. You may have chalked it up to coincidence, but coincidence often hides the handiwork of a mind that has been quietly instructed night after night to move you in a certain direction. When you repeatedly tell your subconscious before sleep that your mind works for you while you rest, arranging opportunities that match your definite aim, you are giving it permission to use its full power. You are telling it that you trust it to search and receive. You are instructing it to draw in what matches your sentence, and to repel what does not. Over time, the world itself begins to feel different because you are no longer drifting through it. You are being guided through it by a part of you that works without fatigue, without distraction, and without the constant self-doubt of the daytime mind. But remember, the subconscious does not initiate, it responds. It does not choose your aim, it serves your aim. At night, it waits for your last instruction. If you do not give one, it takes whatever is most emotionally charged in your awareness and uses that as its assignment. This is why the law of the final hour and the working of the subconscious at night are inseparable. One is the law that defines the moment of greatest influence. The other is the mechanism that obeys that influence. Together, they form a cycle. You speak, the subconscious builds. You wake, you act. Your actions create new experiences. Those experiences become new material. At night, you either repeat the old instructions or issue new ones. Then the cycle repeats. Break the cycle at the level of nightly instruction, and you break the pattern of your life. Let me give you another picture. Think of your subconscious as the night shift in a great factory. During the day, the front office is buzzing. People come and go. Phones ring. Opinions are thrown around. But the real production work happens behind the scenes, where machines are humming and workers are assembling products according to the orders they have been given. At the end of the day, the manager posts the production schedule for the night shift and goes home. The workers do not see the customers. They do not read the newspapers. They do not listen to gossip. They simply see what is written on the schedule and get to work. In this analogy, your final thought before sleep is the production schedule. If you write, "Continue producing more of the same anxiety," the workers keep building that. If you write, "Begin constructing a new identity of wealth and authority," they begin reorganizing the line. They pull different raw materials. They assemble different combinations. They begin phasing out the old and installing the new. And because they work through the night, when you arrive in the morning, the inventory of your feelings, thoughts, and instincts has changed. It might be subtle at first, but it is changing. Your job is to make sure the schedule you post at night matches the life you say you want. You might ask, if the subconscious is so powerful, why have I not already experienced dramatic results? The answer is consistency. For most of your life, you have been giving it mixed orders. One night you say, "I am powerful." Another night, "I fall asleep thinking I cannot do anything right." One night you say, "I am wealthy in mind and will be wealthy in life." Another night, you fall asleep repeating that you are broke and unlucky. One night you say, "I am decisive." Another night, you go to bed drowning in hesitation. The subconscious obeys whatever is repeated the most and whatever is backed with the most emotion. Occasional inspired sentences cannot compete with a lifetime of nightly worry unless you decide to change the pattern and hold to that decision long enough for the inner builder to complete its renovation. Here is the good news. The subconscious is neutral. It is not your enemy. It is not loyal to your past. It is loyal to your present instruction. If your past instruction has been destructive, it will change directions the moment you change your orders and keep them changed. It does not sulk. It does not cling to old plans when the master has given new ones. The only condition it demands is that you be definite and persistent. Night after night, command after command, sentence after sentence. With this understanding, you can begin to work with the subconscious instead of against it. In the context of your nightly sentence, this means that when you speak a clear, specific affirmation or aim before sleep, you are not merely trying to make yourself feel better. You are handing a blueprint to the one part of your mind that can keep working on it all night. You are saying, "Assign all the processing power you have to this. Rearrange my memories around this. Filter tomorrow through this. Organize my ideas around this. Bring me people, thoughts, and opportunities that match this." That is the true purpose of the nightly sentence. It is not a slogan. It is an order form. When you understand this, the discipline of repeating your sentence no longer feels like a chore. It feels like what it actually is, a daily meeting with the architect and the builder of your destiny. You sit with yourself, you quiet the noise, you choose your words, and you deliver the instruction. Then, while you sleep, the silent builder goes to work, far beyond your conscious awareness, faithfully transforming those words into belief, and that belief into action. In the larger structure of your life, the way the subconscious works at night is the bridge between understanding the law of the final hour and mastering the sentence you speak in that hour. It explains why that last thought has such force. It shows you why repetition is necessary. It reveals why emotion matters. It teaches you that you are not just calming yourself before bed. You are engaging a power that never rests and giving it a duty. From now on, when you lie down and feel your body grow heavy, I want you to think of the subconscious waiting just beneath the surface, tools in hand, eyes on you, ready to begin its shift. It is silent, but not empty. It is calm, but not idle. It is asking one question: what shall I build tonight? And your final thought, your final sentence, your final emotional state is the answer you give. If you answer with fear, it will build fear. If you answer with defeat, it will build more of the same. But if you answer with a clear command rooted in your definite aim, spoken with decision and feeling, then your nights will no longer belong to old patterns. They will belong to your future. That is how the subconscious works at night, as the silent builder of your tomorrow, always at work, always obedient, always molding your life around the orders you give it when the world is quiet, and only your voice remains. Now that you understand the law of the final hour and the silent power of your subconscious at night, we must move to the most practical and decisive part of this entire message, the sentence itself, the nightly command, the line you will speak into the darkness that will begin to rewrite your destiny from the inside out. Because if the last thought before sleep is the key that unlocks the workshop of the mind, and the subconscious is the builder that works while you rest, then the sentence you choose is the blueprint handed to that builder. A poor blueprint brings a poor structure. A vague blueprint brings a crooked, unstable structure. A powerful blueprint, chosen with intelligence and spoken with certainty, brings a life that reflects it with mathematical precision. So tonight, my friend, we will design that blueprint together. We will not do it casually. We will not do it quickly. We will do it with the seriousness of a man choosing the laws by which his future will be governed. Your nightly sentence must carry three elements: aim, time frame, and certainty. Aim answers the question, what exactly am I commanding my life to move toward? Time frame answers, by when? Certainty answers, in what tone will I speak this command? Too many men speak wishes. Too many men speak hopes. Too many men go to bed thinking, I would like more money. I hope I change. I wish my life were different. The subconscious rejects such weak language as unworthy of obedience. It does not respond to clouds. It responds to commands. If you are to use this law, your nightly sentence must be definite. It must paint a clear picture of who you are becoming and what you are creating. So let us begin with aim. Aim is the target. Aim is the bullseye into which you will pour your repetition, your emotion, your identity. Without aim, your mind wanders. With aim, your mind organizes. If you say, I want more money, there is no target. One extra dollar fulfills the statement and leaves you still in bondage. If you say, I want to feel better, the mind has nothing measurable to build toward. It cannot test whether it has obeyed you or not. But if you say, I earn $20,000 per month by providing valuable service that helps others grow, your subconscious sees an image it can work with. It sees numbers. It sees contribution. It sees a standard. If you say, I command my days with calm focus and I move through my work with clarity and purpose, your subconscious sees a posture, an attitude, a way of being. Vague language produces vague results. Precise language produces precise results. Ask yourself now, what do I truly want my life to move toward? Not what would impress others. Not what sounds good to the crowd. What burns in your heart? Is it a specific level of income? Is it a state of inner peace? Is it a certain type of work? Is it the transformation of your character from timid to bold, from scattered to disciplined? Choose one central aim, not 10, not 5, 1. Your sentence is not a Christmas list, it is a command. The more you divide your focus, the weaker the command becomes. You may have many goals, but your nightly sentence must capture the spine of them all. If your deepest cry is for financial freedom, your aim might describe the income and the value you deliver. If your deepest cry is for strength of mind, your aim might describe the way you think, decide, and act under pressure. If your deepest cry is for purpose, your aim might describe the way you serve, lead, and create. Whatever it is, make it specific. Make it concrete. Make it something that, if another man read it, he could tell whether or not it had come to pass. Now we come to the second element, time frame. The subconscious does not live in time the way the conscious mind does, but your nervous system does. When you add a time frame to your sentence, you give your mind urgency and direction. Without a time frame, your aim floats somewhere in the fog of someday. With a time frame, your aim steps into the arena of now. But you must be wise here. If you choose a time frame so short that your entire being rejects it as impossible, you will plant more doubt than faith. If you choose a time frame so distant that you feel no pressure to move, you will drift. Your time frame must stretch your belief, but not break it. Ask yourself, within what period can a man like me, fully committed, focused, and directed by this law, realistically and boldly move toward this aim? For some, that may be 12 months. For others, it may be 3 years. For certain internal transformations, you may say, each day from now on, or beginning immediately. The key is that the time frame brings your future into your present behavior. When you say, I am earning $10,000 a month within the next 12 months by providing powerful solutions for others, your subconscious begins at once to search for patterns, ideas, and actions that can make that statement true within that window. When you say, I command my mind each day and live with calm power in every situation from this day forward, your subconscious begins at once to strengthen the pathways of self-control and weaken the pathways of panic. The time frame is the frame that surrounds the picture. It tells your inner builder how fast to move and how seriously to take the instruction. Be bold. Do not insult your own power by choosing a time frame that stretches so far into the future that no action is required today. Yet be intelligent. Choose a period that demands growth, not magic. This brings us to the third element, the most neglected and yet the most vital, certainty. Aim tells your mind what. Time frame tells it when. Certainty tells it how to feel about it and whether to believe it. You can construct a beautiful aim with a respectable time frame and still sabotage the entire process if you speak the sentence like a man asking for permission instead of a man issuing command. The subconscious listens to tone more than words. If you say, I think I can, your tone cancels your sentence. If you say, I hope, you are telling your mind that you have not decided. If you say, maybe, you are instructing the law to treat your command as optional. But when you say, I am, I earn, I walk, I act, I command, you are speaking in the language of certainty. You may not see the result yet. You may not feel worthy yet. But you are not describing your present condition. You are declaring the identity that you require your mind to build. The subconscious is not impressed by the trembling of the tongue. It is impressed by the fire behind the tongue. It does not obey indecision. It obeys finality. This is why you must design your sentence in the present tense, spoken as if the result is already true, and you are simply aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions to match it. When you say, I will be successful, your mind hears distance. When you say, I am the man who creates wealth through disciplined thought and decisive action, your mind hears identity, and identity dictates behavior. Imagine two men going to bed at night. One says, I hope I can get out of debt someday. The other says, I am a disciplined builder of wealth. Every day I control my spending, expand my income, and move toward complete financial freedom. The second man's bank account may still show debt, but his subconscious is receiving a different order. It is organizing his perception around a new identity. It is making him uncomfortable with waste, alert to opportunity, drawn to information and relationships that support his declaration. Over time, the world bends toward the man who speaks with certainty, because first his own behavior bends, and the world is only ever responding to that. Now, let us put these three elements together in practical form. Aim, time frame, certainty. Your sentence might sound like this. I earn $10,000 per month within the next 12 months by providing powerful solutions that transform people's lives, and my mind works day and night to show me every step. Or this. I command my thoughts and emotions each day from this moment forward. I walk in calm confidence, make clear decisions, and act with courage in every situation. Or this. I am a disciplined creator of wealth and impact. Over the next 3 years, I build a business that sets my family free and allows me to give generously. Notice what is present and what is absent. There is no pleading, there is no apology, there is no vague hoping. There is a clear aim, a living time frame, and a tone of finality. Also notice that each sentence contains both inner identity and outer result. You are not merely asking for money. You are commanding yourself to become the kind of man for whom money naturally flows. You are not merely asking to feel better. You are commanding yourself to become the kind of man who thinks, speaks, and acts from strength. Do not underestimate this pairing. If you only command external results, you may achieve them temporarily and then lose them because the underlying identity was never addressed. If you only command internal states and never link them to tangible outcomes, you may become calm in the midst of chaos, but never translate that calm into concrete change. Your nightly sentence should bridge inner and outer, who you are and what you do, how you think and what you create. There are common mistakes you must avoid when designing this sentence. The first is softness. Soft sentences breed soft results. If you write, I would like to eventually improve my finances, you have already lost. The law has nothing firm to obey. The second mistake is clutter. Many men try to fit 10 different aims into one sentence. I earn more, and lose weight, and fix my relationships, and become spiritual, and travel the world, and build 3 businesses. The subconscious receives this as noise. Your nightly sentence is not a bucket list. It is a keystone command. Choose the aim that, once achieved, will naturally improve many other areas. Often, that is a combination of identity and finances. The third mistake is dishonesty. This does not mean you must limit your aim to what you have already done. It means you must not write what you think others want you to write. If your true burning desire is to be financially free, do not water it down with phrases that sound noble but do not move you. If your true desire is to live with unshakable peace and decisiveness, do not hide it behind words that are fashionable but empty to you. Your sentence must ring true in your own heart. When you speak it, something in you must say, yes, that is what I want. That resonance is part of the emotional power that makes the imprint permanent. Another mistake is constant revision. A man hears a speech on Monday, writes one sentence, and repeats it for 2 nights. By Wednesday, he doubts it and changes it. On Friday, he hears another idea, writes a new sentence, and abandons the first. His subconscious receives a parade of half-commands with no consistency. The inner builder starts one foundation, then is told to stop and start another, then another. Nothing ever rises from the ground. You must choose your sentence as you would choose a vow. You can refine the wording at the beginning, but once you have chosen, you commit. You say, this is the aim, this is the time frame, this is the identity. And for the next 90 days, this is the sentence I will repeat without fail before sleep. No matter how I feel, no matter what happened today, no matter who doubts. That consistency is what turns language into law and law into reality. Some of you may say, but what if I choose the wrong sentence? Let me tell you a secret. The greatest error is not in choosing imperfectly. The greatest error is in not choosing at all. A clear sentence that you fully commit to will move you farther than the perfect sentence that lives only in your imagination. As you grow, you may refine your aim. You may increase the numbers. You may shift the expression of your purpose. But you cannot discover your true aim through endless thinking. You discover it through decision, repetition, and feedback. You choose, you speak, you live, and the path clarifies as you walk it. Picture a man who has drifted for years. He has read countless books, watched countless videos, written pages of notes, but each night he goes to bed thinking, "I do not know what to do." That sentence becomes his fate. The subconscious obeys. It offers no clear plan because it has been instructed that confusion is the law. Now picture another man who is not entirely sure how his future will unfold, but he chooses a sentence such as, "I am a man of clarity and purpose. Each day I recognize and act on the most important steps toward my financial freedom, and my mind reveals them to me." He does not wait to understand everything. He declares who he is and what he expects of his own mind. Night after night, he repeats it. Within weeks, he begins to sense priorities more clearly. Within months, he finds himself saying no to distractions, yes to opportunities, and moving forward in ways that the old, confused version of himself never could. Was his first sentence perfect? Perhaps not, but it was definite. It was repeated. It was spoken with certainty. That is enough to begin the transformation. There is one more layer to your nightly sentence that you must understand. Aim, time frame, and certainty are the structure. Emotion is the electricity that runs through that structure. You must design a sentence that not only looks strong on paper, but feels strong to you when spoken. If you speak numbers that excite you, you will feel your body respond. If you describe an identity that inspires you, you will feel your chest lift, your breathing deepen, your posture change. This emotional response is not decoration. It is the signal you send to the subconscious that says, "This matters. Pay attention. Build this." When you design your sentence, read it aloud and listen not only with your ears but with your body. Do you feel nothing? Then you have not yet touched your true desire. Do you feel fear and excitement together? Then you are close. Do you feel a deep sense of, "Yes, this is who I am becoming"? Then you have found the words that can move you. Finally, remember where this sentence lives in the larger journey. You began by learning that the last thought before sleep controls the direction of your life. You discovered that the subconscious works at night as the silent builder of your tomorrow. Now you are crafting the exact instructions you will hand that builder each evening. Later, you will learn how repetition and emotion fix this sentence into your identity, and how your identity then governs your actions, your habits, your relationships, and ultimately your wealth. But none of that happens if this step is taken lightly. So tonight, when the world grows quiet and the day draws to a close, do not rush to your bed as you have in the past. Sit with pen and paper. Ask yourself with ruthless honesty, what is the central aim I now command my life to move toward? Within what time frame will I allow myself to grow into it? In what tone will I declare it? Then write your sentence. Refine it until each word is clean, strong, and true. And when you stand to speak it for the first time before sleep, know that you are not uttering a line of inspiration. You are issuing a decree. You are placing a written order into the hands of the silent builder. You are deciding who you will be and what you will create, not in theory, but in law. Aim, time frame, certainty, choose them, speak them, live them, and night after night, your mind will go to work in the darkness, reshaping your beliefs, redirecting your focus, and aligning your days with the sentence you have dared to design. Before we continue, let me speak to the man within you who knows he was meant for more. If this message is awakening something in you, if you feel the truth of these principles stirring inside, then I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to this channel so you never again walk through your nights or your days without the guidance of these laws. Join a community of men and women who refuse to drift, who refuse to sleep in fear, who are choosing to command their mind and rebuild their life from the inside out. Do that now, and let us continue. Now that you understand the law of the final hour, how the subconscious works at night, and how to design your command sentence with aim, time frame, and certainty, we come to the part that decides everything. The ritual itself, not the idea of it, not the theory of it, but the living, nightly practice of how you enter your last hour. How you speak, how you feel, and how you fall asleep in command. Because the truth is simple. No matter how powerful your sentence is on paper, no matter how inspiring it sounds in your mind, if your nightly ritual is sloppy, distracted, reactive, or rushed, the law will work against you instead of for you. The final hour is not only about what you say, it is about the state you are in when you say it, the atmosphere you create around it, the reverence with which you treat it, and your willingness to repeat it night after night until it becomes a part of you. So let us build, step by step, the nightly ritual of a man who no longer leaves his future to chance. Imagine the end of your day. Most men stumble into it. They carry their phone into bed. They scroll through noise. They replay arguments. They feel the weight of bills and unfinished tasks. They tell themselves they are winding down, but in reality they are winding their subconscious into confusion and tension. Then they wonder why they wake heavy, scattered, and powerless. You will not live like that anymore. Your night will not be an accident. It will be a ceremony. It will be a deliberate meeting between your conscious mind and your subconscious builder. Treat it like a king meeting his most loyal general to hand over the strategy for the next campaign. First, you must establish a clear boundary between the chaos of the day and the sacredness of the hour before sleep. That means you do not drag the entire world into your final 60 minutes. You decide a time when the work, the noise, and the conversations end. This may be 30 minutes before bed for some, 60 for others, but the principle is the same. The last part of your night is not for the world. It is for command. You may dim the lights, not to be dramatic, but to signal to your nervous system that you are shifting from activity to intention. You may put your phone away in another room or at least on a table out of your hand so that you are not a slave to every incoming distraction when you should be issuing instruction. You are telling your mind, the day belongs to many things, but this hour belongs to my destiny. Second, you must bring your body into a state that supports the message you want to deliver. The body is not separate from the mind. If you lie twisted, cramped, shallow breathing, your nervous system hears anxiety, not authority. Stand or sit with dignity first. Plant your feet on the floor. Let your spine lengthen. Take several slow, deliberate breaths deep into the belly, exhaling longer than you inhale. You are not performing a ritual for show. You are calming the storm of the day, lowering the noise inside, and preparing a still pool into which your sentence can be dropped with maximum effect. Feel your shoulders drop. Loosen your jaw. You are not collapsing from exhaustion. You are entering a state of calm command. Third, you must cleanse the mind of residue before you imprint anything new. This does not mean replaying every mistake of the day. It means taking a brief, honest inventory, then choosing what to carry and what to release. Ask yourself quietly, where did I fall short today? Where did I act with strength? What will I do differently tomorrow? Do not dwell, do not accuse, do not dramatize. Learn quickly, acknowledge your progress, and then decide that the lesson is taken and the guilt is released. If you hold on to guilt, regret, or resentment, those emotions will attach themselves to your sentence and twist its power. You are not pretending the day was perfect. You are harvesting what you need and discarding what you do not, the way a wise farmer takes the grain and leaves the weeds. Fourth, you bring your command sentence into focus. You do not rush it. You do not mumble it. You do not recite it like a man reading a label. You pick up the paper where you wrote it by hand. You look at it as if you are looking at a contract between you and your future. Read it once silently, letting every word sink in. Then read it aloud, slowly, distinctly, emphasizing the words that carry the spine of your identity. Listen to your own voice. Does it sound like a man begging or a man directing? Does it sound like a man asking or a man deciding? Adjust your tone until it carries the weight of decision. Your sentence might be about wealth, about discipline, about peace, about leadership, but whatever it is, you must speak it as if it is already the governing law of your life. That is what the subconscious responds to, the certainty that this is who you are, not who you hope to be someday. Fifth, you must involve your imagination. The subconscious understands pictures even more quickly than words. As you repeat your sentence, see it. If your sentence speaks of a specific income, see yourself looking at your accounts, your business, your clients, your work with that income as normal. If it speaks of composure and purpose, see yourself in a situation that used to make you panic, now moving calmly, clearly, and bravely. If it speaks of a transformed identity, see that version of you walking through daily life. How does he stand? How does he speak? How does he wake up? How does he handle setbacks? Do not build fantasies that have no relationship to reality. Build vivid previews of the life you are now constructing. As you speak your sentence, let your imagination supply images that match the words. This is how you turn a dry phrase into a living script. Sixth, you bring emotion to the surface. Remember, the subconscious is moved not just by repetition, but by feeling. You must let yourself feel the gratitude of already being this man, the relief of no longer being trapped in the old limitations, the excitement of walking into days that match your inner command. At first, this may feel strange. You may feel like an actor saying lines, but stay with it. Think about the pain you are leaving behind, the confusion, the scarcity, the smallness, the fear. Think about the possibilities you are stepping into, the freedom, the contribution, the dignity of knowing you have taken control of your inner world. Let those contrasts stir your heart. Do not force tears, do not chase drama, but allow real emotion to rise. When you feel even a spark of genuine conviction, fan it. That feeling is the flame that burns your sentence into the subconscious. Seventh, you must commit to staying with your sentence long enough for it to outlast the old patterns. This is where most men fail. They speak with some conviction for 3 nights, then let fatigue, boredom, or doubt break the ritual. They say, "I tried that, but nothing changed," not realizing that they did not endure long enough for the law to respond. Your nightly ritual is not a test you run for a few days. It is a discipline you submit to, like a man training a powerful animal. You are teaching your subconscious who is master. You are proving to yourself that when you decide, you follow through. Decide for yourself, for the next 30 nights, I will not break this chain. No matter how late, how tired, how emotional I feel, I will go to my place, breathe, cleanse the day, speak my sentence, see it, feel it, and fall asleep under its authority. When you do this, you are not just programming a thought, you are building a new self-respect. You are training yourself to trust your own word. 8. You must understand that some nights will be harder than others, and the ritual must be strongest on those nights. There will be days when you experience loss, conflict, failure, or deep disappointment. Those are the nights when your old identity will scream the loudest. It will say, "This is useless. You are fooling yourself. Look at the facts. Nothing is changing." That is when the average man quits and returns to drifting. But that is the exact moment your ritual becomes most powerful. On those nights, you may shorten your reflection, but you must not skip your command. Even if your voice trembles, even if your mind is flooded with doubt, you stand or sit, you breathe, and you speak your sentence anyway. When you do this in the midst of pain, you are telling your subconscious, "My command does not depend on circumstances. My identity is not up for negotiation. I am not the man I used to be." Those nights are the ones that carve deep grooves of strength into your character. 9th, you must deliberately choose the final thought that will accompany you into sleep. Many people perform a ritual, then allow their mind to wander for 20 more minutes into worry, fantasy, or random distraction. That is like a king issuing a decree, then letting a group of fools write over it after he leaves. Do not do this. Once you have spoken your sentence aloud several times, once you have seen it and felt it, you lay down to sleep and allow that sentence to be the last clear thought in your mind. You repeat it inwardly, gently but decisively, as your body begins to relax. If other thoughts intrude, do not fight them with panic. Gently return to the sentence. Think of it like an anchor that keeps your mind from drifting into the old currents. You do not need to force yourself to stay awake. You allow sleep to come while the sentence is still echoing inside you. The goal is simple. You want the final distinct impression stamped on your subconscious to be the identity you have chosen, not the fear you are leaving behind. 10th, You must keep the environment of your room consistent with the command you are issuing. If your bedroom is filled with clutter, noise, and distraction, your mind receives mixed messages. On one hand, you are declaring order, power, and purpose. On the other, your surroundings scream chaos, neglect, and drift. You do not need luxury. You need intention. Keep the space where you perform your ritual and sleep as clean and ordered as you reasonably can. Remove unnecessary noise. Limit bright screens in the last stretch. Perhaps you leave only a soft light while you speak, then turn it off once you are ready to fall asleep. This sends a message to your subconscious. I care about this. I am serious about this. My outer world is aligning with my inner command. If you must share a room or cannot control everything around you, control what you can. Even the simple act of neatly placing your sentence where you will see it every night and putting your phone out of reach is a declaration of leadership over your environment. 11th, you must protect the ritual from becoming mechanical. Familiarity can be dangerous. After several weeks, the words will feel familiar. The routine will feel normal. If you are not careful, you will begin to say the sentence with your mouth while your mind is on other things. When you notice this, stop. Start again. Bring yourself back into the present. Ask yourself, do I still mean this? Am I still willing to pay the price it demands? Remember why you chose this aim, this time frame, this identity. Think of your family. Think of the years you refuse to waste. Let the urgency return. Ritual without heart becomes empty repetition. Ritual with renewed intention becomes a ladder you climb each night toward a new life. 12th, you must connect your nightly ritual to your actions during the day. You are not performing a magical chant that excuses you from effort. You are installing an identity that will demand more of you when the sun rises. As part of your ritual, you can briefly preview the next day. Ask, if I am truly the man my sentence describes, what is one action I must take tomorrow that matches this identity? It might be a phone call, a decision, a piece of work, a conversation, a habit. You do not need a long list. You need one clear step that expresses the man you are programming yourself to become. In this way, the night feeds the day, and the day reinforces the night. The command you give your mind before sleep begins to show up in your schedule, your choices, and your behavior. That is when the law becomes visible. That is when results begin to appear. Over time, this nightly ritual will do far more than change your mood before bed. It will change the way you walk through life. At first, you may feel like a man putting on a new coat that does not quite fit. It may feel stiff, strange, or even false. But night after night, as you speak, see, feel, and fall asleep under the same command, something begins to shift. The sentence that once felt foreign starts to feel familiar. The identity that once felt distant begins to feel natural. Your old ways of thinking, speaking, and acting begin to feel uncomfortable. You find yourself catching negative thoughts before they take root. You find yourself refusing opportunities that do not match your declaration and pursuing those that do. You find yourself less surprised by good results because internally you have already adjusted to them. That is the quiet revolution that begins in your nightly ritual. You are not forcing change from the outside in. You are commanding change from the inside out. And so, my friend, understand this with final clarity. The nightly ritual is not an accessory to your success. It is the spine that holds every other principle in place. The law of the final hour, the knowledge of how the subconscious works, the power of designing a precise sentence, the importance of repetition and emotion. All of it is meaningless if you do not sit, breathe, speak, feel, and fall asleep in conscious command. But if you do, if you honor this simple practice as faithfully as a man might guard a treasure, then night after night, you will be handing your mind the same instruction, the same identity, the same aim, until it has no choice but to obey. You will stop going to bed as the man you were, and start falling asleep as the man you have decided to become. And when you wake, day after day, you will rise a little more in line with that decision, until one morning you look in the mirror and realize that the ritual you once performed by faith has become the life you now live by fact. Identity shift through repetition is the hidden engine behind everything we have spoken about so far. You can understand the law of the final hour. You can appreciate how the subconscious works at night. You can design a powerful sentence and even perform the nightly ritual, but until you grasp that the real target of all this is your identity, you will treat this like a technique instead of a transformation. Wealth does not cling to a man because he begs for it or chases it in desperation. Wealth gravitates toward the man whose identity is aligned with it. A poor identity with rich affirmations will sabotage itself. A rich identity with ordinary circumstances will eventually reshape those circumstances. So the question at the heart of this entire message is not simply how to make more money. The question is, who are you becoming in the dark? Who are you deciding to be when the world is quiet and only your voice is speaking into your soul? Because you are not merely programming isolated outcomes. You are rewriting the story of who you are. You have lived for years under a certain identity. Perhaps it was the identity of the struggler, the man who always finds a way to survive but never quite gets ahead. Perhaps it was the identity of the hard worker who labors from morning until night, yet never commands his time, his mind, or his money. Perhaps it was the identity of the cautious doubter who secretly believes riches belong to others, that wealth is for the lucky, the talented, the connected, but not for him. That identity did not appear overnight. It was formed by repetition. Repetition of words spoken over you, repetition of the messages you heard as a child, repetition of your own complaints in response to disappointment, repetition of thoughts about what you deserved, what was possible, what was realistic. Night after night and day after day, those words and thoughts carved grooves into your subconscious. Without even knowing it, you accepted a role and began to live it out. You reacted to opportunities according to that role. You made decisions according to that role. You turned away from chances that did not fit that role. You may have said you wanted success, but deep inside, you identified as the man who does not quite reach it. This is why your nightly sentence matters so deeply. It is not just positive thinking, it is identity surgery. It is the deliberate, repeated act of saying to your subconscious, I am no longer that man, I am this man now. And then saying it again tomorrow, and the next night, and the next. The mind does not change identity through inspiration. It changes through repeated instruction that is too consistent, too emotional, and too clear to ignore. When you lay in bed at night and declare with conviction that you are the man who creates wealth because you think, speak, and act with purpose, you are sending a direct challenge to every old belief that says you are small, limited, or destined to struggle. At first, the old identity will fight back. You will feel it as inner tension. Part of you will say, you are lying to yourself. Look at your bank account. Look at your past. That is the voice of yesterday. It is the echo of years of repetition. But remember this law. The mind eventually yields to the most frequent, consistent, and emotionally charged suggestion. If you continue to repeat the old story, that story wins. If you begin to repeat a new story every night with emotion and certainty, that story will, in time, win. Identity shift through repetition is a battle of stories. The one you feed the most becomes your life. Think of the way a path is formed through a field. The first time someone walks across that grass, nothing seems changed. The second and third time, there is still little to see. But as more footsteps follow the same line, the grass yields, the ground hardens, and a visible trail appears. Soon anyone walking there will naturally follow that path simply because it is the path of least resistance. Your identity works the same way. Your nightly sentence is the new path. Each repetition is a step. At first, the old trail of doubt and scarcity feels stronger, more familiar. But keep walking, keep repeating. Night after night, you are wearing down the resistance of the old story and laying a new track for your subconscious to follow. One evening, you will realize that the sentence you once struggled to believe now feels normal. It will feel less like a hope and more like a description. That is the moment when identity has begun to shift. And once identity shifts, behavior follows with far less strain. The man who believes he is destined to struggle will sabotage opportunities, undercharge for his value, shrink in important conversations, and procrastinate on bold moves, even if he is surrounded by information on how to get rich. The man who truly believes he is a creator of wealth will make different choices automatically. He will not cling to underpaying work. He will not tolerate lazy thinking. He will invest time into learning skills that multiply his value. He will speak up when others stay silent. He will see money not as a scarce miracle, but as a natural response to aligned thought, service, and action. That is why your sentence must clearly speak identity, not just income. Say you choose a nightly sentence focused only on money, such as a certain amount in your account. That may stir desire, but if beneath it you still see yourself as a man who is bad with money, undeserving of wealth, or doomed to lose what he gains, you will keep finding ways to confirm that identity. On the other hand, if your nightly sentence declares that you are disciplined, decisive, wise with resources, a creator of value, someone who uses wealth to build, to serve, to protect his family, then your subconscious is receiving a different instruction. You are saying, "This is who I am, a man of thought, action, faith, and riches." Over time, as that identity settles in, your relationship with money changes. You no longer chase quick fixes. You are willing to learn. You delay gratification with less pain because it fits who you are becoming. You decline temptations that once pulled you off course because they do not match the image you now hold of yourself. This is the real miracle of identity shift. You begin to do the hard things, not by forcing yourself with endless willpower, but because doing them has become consistent with who you now believe you are. Repetition builds that belief. Consider a man who has always seen himself as irresponsible with money. Perhaps he grew up hearing phrases like, "We are just not good with money in this family," or "Money does not stay with people like us." As an adult, he confirms those suggestions. He spends without plan, saves nothing, and treats debt as normal. If you give him information about investing or budgeting, he might try for a week, but his old identity pulls him back. He is acting out of character. However, if that same man begins a disciplined nightly ritual where his final words before sleep are, "I am a wise steward of money, I plan, I save, I invest, and money grows in my hands because I direct it with purpose," something different begins. The first nights will feel awkward. His actions during the day may still be chaotic, but the suggestion is being planted. Each night he repeats it. With feeling, he chips away at the old family story. One evening, he feels a genuine spark of pride as he says it. A few days later, he finds himself pausing before an impulsive purchase and thinking, "That is not what a wise steward does." When he decides to put that money into savings instead, he is no longer forcing himself for the sake of a rule. He is expressing his new identity. That decision reinforces his sentence. The sentence reinforces that decision. Soon the subconscious begins to expect this pattern. Over months and years, that man can become someone his younger self would not recognize. Not because a book changed him for one afternoon, but because his nightly repetition rewrote his identity, and his identity rewrote his choices. Wealth did not arrive by accident, it arrived by law. Identity shift does not only influence what you do with money, it also changes the way you think about value. A poor identity is obsessed with getting. It asks, "What can I receive? What can I take? How can I be rescued?" A wealth identity is obsessed with giving value. It asks, "What can I build? How can I solve a problem? Who can I serve? What can I create that others will gladly reward?" When your nightly sentence speaks of being a creator of wealth, it is not saying the world owes you something. It is saying you are the kind of man who brings something to the world. Repetition of that idea trains your subconscious to look for opportunities to contribute, to improve, to offer solutions. You begin noticing needs around you that others ignore. You see inefficiencies in your workplace, ways to improve a process, ideas for a service or a business. You begin to speak up, to test ideas, to take responsibility instead of hiding. Over time, these actions accumulate into promotions, businesses, partnerships, or projects that create real financial returns. The world is simply responding to a man whose identity has shifted from consumer to contributor. This is why you must choose your nightly sentence with care. You are not playing with words. You are setting the direction of your future self. As you repeat your sentence night after night, you are also training your nervous system to be comfortable with greater levels of responsibility and abundance. Many men say they want wealth, yet they panic at the idea of leading, deciding, or being visible. Deep inside, they fear judgment, failure, or loss. Without changing that identity, any success they stumble into will feel unsafe, and they will unconsciously push it away. Through repetition, you can begin to dismantle that fear. When you say each night, "I handle wealth with wisdom and calm, I welcome responsibility, and I grow under it," you are sending a signal to your subconscious that being a man of influence is not dangerous, it is natural. As this idea takes root, you will find yourself less paralyzed in situations that once triggered you. You will speak more clearly in meetings. You will hesitate less when making financial decisions. You will feel less like an imposter and more like a rightful owner of your place at the table. Again, the outside world responds. People sense your stability. Opportunities often flow to the one who appears internally settled and clear. Identity shift through repetition also changes your relationship with time. A poor identity lives mostly in reaction. It waits to see what the day will bring and spends time on whatever screams the loudest. A wealth identity understands that time is the raw material of riches. When your nightly sentence includes language about being a man who uses time wisely, who plans his days, who invests hours into high-value actions, your subconscious begins to treat your minutes differently. You might start by planning one important task for the next day as part of your nightly ritual. As you repeat this for weeks, you find yourself more and more able to say, "This does not deserve my time," or "This must be done first." Over months, that small shift compounds. While others squander evenings and weekends numbing themselves, you use some of that time to develop skills, build relationships, explore ideas, or create additional streams of income. You are not becoming a slave to work. You are becoming a master of time. That mastery grows naturally out of the identity you have repeated to yourself in the dark. Repetition also alters how you interpret failure. Before identity shifts, setbacks feel like proof that you are not capable or deserving. A lost client, a bad decision, a delay in results all feed the story that nothing works for you. After identity shifts, failure becomes feedback. It still hurts, but it no longer defines you. Why? Because you have been telling your subconscious every night that you are persistent, adaptable, and committed to your definite aim until it manifests. When that idea has been drilled into you by repetition, a setback triggers a different internal response. Instead of saying, "Of course this happened to me," you find yourself asking, "What can I learn? How can I adjust? What is the next move?" That change in response keeps you moving where others stop. It is not motivation, it is identity. You are now the kind of man who keeps going. And the man who keeps going inevitably passes those who quit, even if they started with more talent or advantage. Think of the generational impact of this. Perhaps you inherited an identity of scarcity, fear, or passivity about money. Night after night, you now stand in quiet defiance of that inheritance and declare a different story. At first, no one sees it. Your circumstances look the same, but your children, your partner, those around you, begin to feel something shift. They see you approach decisions with more calm. They observe you planning, learning, creating. Years from now, they will speak of you as the one who changed the pattern, the man who refused to pass on the same poverty of thought. That legacy begins each night when you decide to repeat a sentence that honors the man you are becoming rather than the man you have been. Identity shift through repetition is not glamorous. It is not loud. It happens quietly while the world is distracted, but it is the most powerful work you will ever do. You will know it is working when certain temptations lose their pull, when old phrases have less power over you, when you hear someone say, "People like us will never be rich," and something inside you rejects it instantly, when you find yourself turning off a pointless distraction because it does not fit the man you now believe you are. Those tiny victories are not accidents. They are the fruit of countless nights of repetition. So understand this clearly. The nightly sentence you speak is not a trick to manifest random checks in the mail. It is a tool to carve a new identity into your subconscious, the identity of a man who creates wealth through thought, decision, discipline, and service. Once that identity is in place, wealth in its many forms begins to gather around you because you are now compatible with it. You think like it. You speak like it. You act like it. Your nights no longer belong to worry and complaint. They belong to command and construction. Your days no longer belong to drift and reaction. They belong to expression of the man you have declared yourself to be. Night after night, you repeat, with emotion, with certainty, the truth of who you are becoming. And day after day, your actions slowly, steadily, inevitably rise to meet that truth. This is identity shift through repetition. This is how you become the man who creates wealth, not in theory, but in reality, starting where it always starts, in the silent hour before sleep, when you alone decide who you will be when you wake. There comes a point in every man's life where information is no longer enough, where listening is no longer enough, where even understanding is no longer enough. There comes a point where you must cross a line inside yourself and never return. That line is called decision. Not the soft, flexible decisions you have made 1,000 times before, the kind that bend at the first sign of fatigue or inconvenience, but a decision that is carved so deeply into your mind that it becomes your new law. The final decision and oath is the moment you stop treating your mind as something that happens to you and you begin to treat it as something you command. It is the moment you stop speaking as a victim of thoughts and circumstances and begin to speak as the master of both. Everything you have heard so far has led you to this threshold. You have learned that the last thought before sleep carries extraordinary power, that the subconscious mind works through the night as a silent builder of your tomorrow, that a single clear sentence, repeated with faith, can rewrite identity, that repetition and emotion are the tools that carve new character into your soul. All of this has been preparation, but none of it will change your destiny until you do one thing. You must decide that from this day forward you will live as the master of your mind and future and seal that decision with an oath you refuse to break. What does it mean to live as the master of your mind? It does not mean you never feel fear, doubt, or weariness again. It means those feelings no longer sit on the throne. It means they present themselves, but you decide whether they rule. It means your inner world is no longer a public square where every stray thought shouts orders and you obediently follow. It becomes a well-guarded kingdom where you are the final authority, where only thoughts that serve your purpose are allowed to remain. The final decision is this: you will no longer leave your nights, your mornings, your days, or your years to accident. You will no longer allow drifting to be your default. Drifting is the quiet habit of postponing your power. It is checking your phone instead of checking your purpose. It is scrolling and complaining and wishing and envying instead of deciding, commanding, and acting. Drifting is the life of a man who has never taken an oath with himself. Your oath changes that. Your oath is a contract you sign in the unseen, written not with ink, but with repetition, with faith, with follow-through. It sounds simple when spoken, but when lived it will separate you from the masses more than any education, talent, or connection ever could. Your oath might sound like this: I command my mind before sleep. I speak only what I choose to become. And each day I rise in obedience to the man I have declared. That is not a slogan. That is a standard. It means if you say you will command your mind, you do not go to bed in a haze of random content and emotional leftovers. You go to bed as a man who remembers his authority. It means if you say you will speak only what you choose to become, you do not lie there repeating defeat, complaining about bills, cursing your job, or reciting stories of limitation. You speak the sentence that defines your future, and you speak it with respect for the law you are using. And if you say you will rise in obedience to the man you have declared, then when morning comes, you do not get to act as if nothing happened the night before. You do not get to live as the old man and still expect the new identity to emerge. You have made an oath. And a man of oath is a different kind of man. Think of the difference between a preference and a vow. A preference says, I would like to be rich, I would like to be disciplined. I would like to feel confident. A vow says, I now live as the man who creates wealth. I now live as the man who disciplines himself. I now live as the man who carries quiet confidence. A preference bends when tired. A vow stands even when you do not feel like standing. A preference is rooted in mood. A vow is rooted in identity. When you take this oath seriously, your relationship with excuses changes. Before, excuses were soft pillows. You used them to rest on whenever growth became uncomfortable. You said, I am too busy tonight to repeat my sentence. I am too stressed to think clearly. I am not ready to act yet. I will start when things calm down. Under an oath, those words no longer feel comforting. They feel like betrayal. Not betrayal of a rule, but betrayal of yourself. Because you have declared that you are the master of your mind. You have declared that you are the one who commands the final hour. When you hear an excuse rise up, you no longer treat it as your voice. You treat it as an intruder. You listen for a second, you recognize it, and then you answer in alignment with your oath. You may say out loud, that is not how I speak anymore. That is not the man I am becoming. In that moment, you are not just winning against a thought. You are reinforcing your identity as the master, not the servant. Living as the master of your mind and future also means you take full responsibility for the atmosphere you live in. You understand now that the sentence you repeat at night is critical, but you also recognize it is fighting against years of previous programming. So you decide, with seriousness, to stop feeding your subconscious with poison during the day and then trying to correct it with one sentence at night. You respect the process more than that. You curate what you watch, what you listen to, what you discuss. You do not allow people's constant complaining to constantly enter your mind. You do not sit for hours absorbing panic from media and then expect 1 minute of affirmation to neutralize it. Your oath means you will treat your mind as your greatest asset. You are careful not because you are fragile, but because you are powerful. You say to yourself, if my subconscious obeys repetition, I will not casually give it endless repetitions of fear and failure. I will give it repetitions of purpose, of faith, of clarity. That is what a master does. He protects the workshop of his future. But understand, this oath does not end at night. The night is where you program. The day is where you prove. The final decision and oath require that your days begin to mirror the identity you speak in the dark. If your nightly sentence declares that you are a man of thought, action, faith, and riches, then in the daytime you must begin to think deeply, act decisively, practice faith when results are not yet visible, and treat money and opportunity with the respect of one who is preparing for greater responsibility. You might ask, what if I fail? What if I break the oath? Listen carefully. You will not live this perfectly. There will be nights when you forget your sentence, days when you slip into old habits, moments when your reactions do not match your identity. That does not make you a liar. It makes you a man in transformation. The question is not, will I ever slip? The question is, what do I do when I notice the slip? The drifting man ignores it. The man of oath corrects it. When you catch yourself going to bed without commanding your mind, you do not sigh and say, I failed again. You sit up, you gather yourself, and you speak your sentence, even if only for a few minutes. When you notice you spent an entire evening in mindless distraction, you do not drown in shame. You acknowledge it. You ask, what led me there? What will I change tomorrow? And you reaffirm your oath. The power is not in never falling. The power is in refusing to normalize the fall. Your oath is what brings you back to the standard you set. Living as the master of your mind also means you no longer wait for perfect conditions before you act. The old identity needed comfort, clarity, and certainty before moving. The new identity moves because it has decided who it is. There will be days when you are tired, when the numbers in your account do not yet match the wealth you have declared, when others doubt you, when nothing on the surface suggests that your nightly sentence is true. In those moments, you stand on your oath. You remind yourself, I did not vow based on current circumstances. I vowed based on who I am choosing to become. Masters are not men who had easy roads. Masters are men who refused to abandon their decision when the road became difficult. You now bring that same spirit to your own life. You also begin to see your challenges differently. Before, obstacles were proof that your dream was unrealistic. Now, obstacles are the training ground for the man you have declared yourself to be. When a financial setback comes, the old man would say, "Of course, nothing ever works." The man of oath says, "This is where I learn to think under pressure. This is where I prove that I am a creator of solutions." When a relationship disappoints you, the old man would close his heart and retreat into bitterness. The man of oath says, "This is where I learn boundaries, communication, and self-respect." He asks, "What quality is life asking me to develop now?" Patience, courage, humility, resilience, clarity. He then uses the circumstance as material for growth rather than as evidence of defeat. This shift in posture is not accidental. It is born from your nightly pattern of speaking identity into yourself. You are telling your subconscious every night that you are not the victim of events. You are the architect of response. Under that identity, every difficulty becomes raw material for greatness. Your oath also has implications for your family and those who depend on you. Before, when you drifted, you could pretend that it affected only you. Now you know better. You understand that if you continue to live without mental command, your children inherit the same confusion, the same scarcity, the same fear. You understand that your partner feels the weight of your uncertainty even when you do not speak it. When you take an oath to live as the master of your mind and future, you are not just elevating yourself, you are lifting the ceiling for everyone around you. Through your discipline, they see a different way of being. Through your calm in crisis, they feel safe. Through your focus on purpose, they learn what matters most. That is why your nightly sentence and your daily follow-through should be treated as sacred, not optional. You are not playing a private game. You are building a legacy. Imagine years from now, someone asks your child or someone close to you, "What changed your family?" And they answer, "It changed when he changed. When he stopped living on autopilot and started living by decision. When he took control of his mind instead of letting his fears control him." That story begins with tonight's oath. The final decision also requires that you simplify. Masters are clear. Drifters are scattered. You cannot live as the master of your mind while clinging to 1,000 conflicting priorities. Your oath calls you to choose. You ask yourself, what kind of man am I building through this ritual? What really matters to me? What kind of work do I want to do? What kind of impact do I want to have? What level of freedom do I want to create? You write these answers down. You shape your nightly sentence around them. You let that sentence guide what you say yes to and what you say no to. If an opportunity aligns with your oath, you consider it seriously. If it pulls you away from the man you are building, you decline it, even if it is comfortable in the short term. This focused alignment between your nightly words and your daily choices is where true power is born. Without it, your sentence remains a pleasant idea. With it, your sentence becomes a living force. Living as the master of your mind and future also demands that you honor time. When you say, "I command my mind before sleep," you are also saying, "I command my schedule." You stop letting your days be devoured by trivial things. You create small structures that support your oath. Maybe you set a nightly alarm that says, "Prepare your mind." Maybe you put your sentence on the wall beside your bed. Maybe you choose a specific chair or corner of your room that becomes your command place, where each night you sit for a few minutes in silence and then speak your words. These physical anchors help your mind understand that this is not a passing phase. It is a new way of life. Over time, the routine becomes automatic. And once it is automatic, the law of repetition becomes unstoppable. Your oath is also a commitment to honesty. To live as the master of your mind, you must stop lying to yourself about what is and what is not working. You cannot hide behind the idea that the world is against you while ignoring the habits that keep you stuck. You cannot blame fate while refusing to keep your promises to yourself. The oath forces you to look in the mirror and say, "I am where I am because of the thoughts I have allowed and the actions I have taken." That honesty is not meant to crush you. It is meant to free you. Because if you created your present reality through unconscious repetition, you can create a different reality through conscious repetition. The same law that once held you down can now lift you up. The difference is that you are no longer operating in ignorance. You are operating in command. There will be moments when this path feels lonely. The majority will not understand why you care so much about the hour before sleep. They will not understand why you are selective about what you consume, why you write sentences on paper and speak them into the night, why you treat your mind like something holy. They may mock it. They may call it unnecessary. They do that because they are used to drifting. Your oath is not for their approval. It is for your liberation. You must be willing to walk a different path internally, long before it shows externally. That is what leaders do. They live in a higher standard before the world rewards it. And when the results come, they will appear sudden to others, but you will know they were built night after night in quiet obedience to your decision. So how do you make this final decision real? You begin by saying it out loud, not only inside your mind. Your mind is used to your silent wishes. It is time it hears your spoken command. You might say, "From this night forward, I command my mind before sleep. I choose my final thoughts with intention. I speak only what I choose to become. And each day I will rise and act in agreement with the man I have declared." You say it slowly, with gravity. You let your body feel the weight of it. Then you back it with action. Tonight, you write your sentence. Tonight, you turn off unnecessary noise before bed. Tonight, you sit in the stillness, breathe, and speak your sentence until it begins to feel real. Tomorrow, you honor that work by making at least one decision that a man of your new identity would make. And the next night, you repeat. You do this not as a temporary challenge, but as a new code. Speed is not your concern. Consistency is. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are building someone. That someone is you. And now, I leave you with this truth. You cannot always control what happens in the world. You cannot always control what others do, what the economy does, what life brings to your door. But you can control what your last thought before sleep will be. You can control whether you close the day as a drifter or as a commander. You can control the sentence you repeat, the identity you install, the oath you keep. In that space, there is more power than you have ever been told. Use it, honor it, live by it. Take this final decision seriously and your life will not merely improve. It will transform in ways that will one day make you grateful that you chose, on an ordinary night, to become the master of your mind and the author of your future. If this message has reshaped the way you see your nights, your mind, and your future, then take the next step. Subscribe, stay with this channel, and continue walking this path with us. Every week you will receive the lessons, the disciplines, and the mental laws that build wealth, identity, and certainty. Do not return to drifting. Join us, strengthen your mind, and rise with those who are rebuilding their destiny from the inside out. Your transformation continues here.